It's time for free practice 2 here at the Mexico City E-Prix, just about 20 minutes outside of the downtown of the oldest capital city in the Americas. We have the circuit Hermanos Rodriguez, which plays host to the third round of this 8th season of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. And as we arrive to Mexico after 2 races in Diriyah, we then move on to Rome in April, Monaco, Berlin, then 2 new events in Jakarta and Vancouver, back to New York City and London, and then to Seoul. Another new event to finish off the season in the middle of August. Nyck de Vries and Eduardo Mortara have taken the 2 wins in the first race in Diriyah, and they are 2 of the championship contenders coming into this race here. It's just coming up to 9:45, but earlier on today, Sam Bird was arriving at the circuit, looking punchy ahead of the racing action. Nissan Edams looking to get off the mark after scoring 0 points in Diriyah. It was also 0 points for Antonio Felix da Costa. The season 6 champion, Mitch Evans, has a huge 1 point after the first 2 races of the season. So a lot of drivers looking to make progress as far as the championship standings are concerned. And the man to catch is Eduardo Mortara, 33 points at the top of the standings. He's 4 points clear of Nyck de Vries. Stoffel van Dorn is 3rd, Lucas de Grassi 4th, Jake Dennis in 5th. But only 8 points to cover the top 5 drivers after the first 2 45-minute plus 1 lap races. There you see only 1 point for Mitch Evans in 14th place, 0 for da Costa, 0 for Buemi, and neither Neo, neither Nissan, and neither Dragon Penske managed to score a point. And as a result, they have 0 points in the team's championship. The team with a lot of points are the Mercedes EQ powertrains in Rocket Venturi Racing, who are at the top, a point clear of Mercedes EQ, and they are comfortably clear of the rest of the pack at the moment. It's close between Avalanche Andretti and Envision Racing, with Tagore Porsche in 5th position. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me in commentary is the man who finished 2nd in the 1999 kart season, Dario Franchitti. Dario, great track here in Mexico.
It really is, Jack. 2.6 kilometers, 16 turns. It was a challenging free practice 1 this morning. Turn 1, a lot of people going down the runoff area. Braking for turn 3, surface change very bumpy there. Blind kick through 4, braking for 5. Got to get off 6 well. Cut the grass through 7. Long run up to turn 9 and into the Foro Sol Stadium. Turns 10, 11, 12 taken as 1. The attack mode activation zone offline between 11 and 12. Then the Peraltada. Turn 16, the long corner. The car's absolutely sliding on the limit this morning. Onto the front straight. That's the lap finished. What a great circuit.
Yeah, it really is good, isn't it? As far as Formula E tracks go, this one is spectacular, with spectacular scenery all around. The high altitude plays its part as well. 2,200 meters above sea level, the highest racetrack in the world. There are a few racetracks that you think come close, and then you look, and they're only at 1,500 meters or something like that. Puerto de los Funes in Argentina, up in the mountains around a lake, I thought would be a good one. But
that was the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, it's only like 1,500, 1,700 meters. There's Nyck de Vries, the reigning champion for the Mercedes EQ team. Mercedes struggled a little in the first 3 practice sessions, so they'll be hoping that they can get back on top of things in this second practice. It's a single header here, so only 30 minutes. And Michael Andretti here, Dario.
Yeah, look at that. The big boss of Andretti owns so many different cars. And I went from fantastic driver, but now he's got the pressure of owning many, many cars and many different formulas. You see Roger Griffiths, team principal, in the foreground. JF Thorman on the left. Michael's right-hand man, left-hand man for so many years, and really is an integral part of the Andretti Autosport outfit.
There's a look down towards the first corner. You can just see a little bit of heat haze on the grid because the cloud is burning off, and I think it's going to be a hot one this afternoon. Championship leader Eduardo Mortara. Yeah,
phenomenal job in Saudi Arabia, and looking for more today, but a bit of work to do with both teams with the Mercedes powertrain, Venturi, and the Mercedes EQ guys.
Well, no time like the present to get started. Light goes green, out we go. And again, it'll be the Mercedes EQ drivers at the front. Much brighter sunshine, much warmer conditions actually than it was in free practice just about, an hour, 2 hours ago. So that'll be a little different, but The thing is, well, the difficult part, I imagine, is how dramatic do you go on your setup changes? If you had a bad free practice 1, do you go big on your changes for free practice 2, or can you not afford to because you can't then change it back because you have so little running?
Well, I think you've got to, first of all, you've got to follow the track conditions. The guys have got experience here of knowing, okay, when the sun comes out, the track's going to heat up, but more rubber's going to come down. So this is what we think, how we think the balance is going to change. If you're Mercedes, though, I think you have to make some sizable changes, because that car just did not look happy on the bumpy sections of the track. It didn't look happy in the last corner of the Mortara. It looks like it's sliding around, and that's just going to overheat the tyres in the race. Not going to be quick over 1 lap, but over the 45 minutes plus a lap this afternoon, I think they're in trouble unless they do something big. But we know they've got a lot of brains in that garage, back at base as well, so they'll figure it out. But look at the marbles on the outside of the corner. You certainly don't want to go offline in that last corner this afternoon.
Only 2 sets of tyres for the weekend for the teams as well, so that's another thing to take into consideration, especially when it comes to, there's a bit of mud kicked up on the outside of 1 for Van Dorn, but especially when it comes to the qualifying and the group qualifying in particular, as Van Dorn comes left through turn 3, where his race ended 2 years ago, and then down towards turns 5 and 6. They've all spread it out a lot more. Spread out a lot more at the start of this session compared to free practice 1.
Yeah, it was getting a bit interesting, wasn't it? It was definitely a simulated race, and we've already got our first yellow flag at turn 1, which proved very problematic this morning. This is Stoffel Van Dorn going into turn 9, entering to Forosol now, turn 10, off camber here. 11, attack mode on your left. Tightens up through 12. Now watch how bumpy it gets. Let's see if the Mercedes rides the... No, didn't ride the bumps better than it was this morning.
Now into Peraltada, the Nissan keeping out of the way for Van Dorn. And he's going to get the first lap time on the board. Back to full throttle, rumbles over the curbs, and it is a 1 minute 8.987 for Stoffel Van Dorn. And there is the Mercedes EQ garage with Ian James with a nice pose, a real sort of lean back kind of vibe going on. I like it. Here come the Jaguars, nowhere this morning. No,
tough morning for the Jaguars as well. A lot of work to do. You see Mitch Evans using all the road through turn 1. Let's see how the car brakes for turn 2. Oh, he's already through turn 2, already getting sideways before he even got to the braking zone of 3. You see Sam Bird going through turn 3. He hit the wall there 2 years ago in our last visit when he was driving for the Envision team. Braking for 5 and 6. Now, we've seen, it used to be, teams do so much race preparation in practice, but recently we have seen much more, certainly in Saudi Arabia, much more qualifying preparation, and we saw that again this morning, Jack. It's going to be interesting to see how much race prep is done in free practice too.
Barkley's out and about. Normally he's in the back, isn't he? Sort of sitting at a table, but he's come to the front of the garage to have a watch of the action, and Sam Bird has got quite a bit of Mitch Evans has got quite a bit of traffic around him at the moment as he tries to get his lap started. He's going past the 2 Nissans who were doing a cool-down lap last time around as well, because we were with Van Dorn when he passed them. So maybe a sort of double prep for the Nissan drivers to try and replicate something in qualifying later. Evans goes to the top of the times now. There's a brief yellow flag at sector 1. It was Da Costa who went off earlier on. And there is Sam Bird. And speaking of which, Da Costa at turn 1.
Yeah, Da Costa was off earlier as well, and went really far down the braking zone. That was a bit easier that time. Look, just as he started to turn into the corner, he unloaded the inside tyre, and you hear it locking up. Quick spin round, and back to it.
A 1 minute 7.509 was the quickest lap time this morning, set by the Porsche, this man in fact, of Andre Lotterer, and he's just on a 1 minute 8.126, so 6 tenths slower than he managed earlier, but he's on 220 kilowatts of power. When the lights start flashing on the car, that's when they're running at 250 kilowatts.
Yeah, Van Dorn looks like he's gone up to 250 kilowatts already. So we see Lotterer. The Porsche just looked so much more composed on circuit this morning than a lot of their rivals, shall we say.
5 and 6.
De Vries and Van Dorn both had full power at the moment, both going for an early qualifying simulation. Buemi up to second. Buemi had a good time this morning after a tricky Saudi Arabia. He was second quickest in free practice 1.
Yep, they're all doing kind of qualifying simulations now. That sort of terminology is not quite accurate now, is it? Because you've got group qualifying simulation and dual simulation, I suppose you should call it. And And I'm trying really hard to say duel.
Duel.
Because everyone was getting very confused when I was talking about duels.
Was your wife getting excited about
yeah,
Jack's
exactly.
going to the duels shop. So, yeah, and in group qualifying, you're at 220 kilowatts power. Then you go into the duels, you go up to 250 kilowatts power. So much different balance in the car, much different feeling from the car. You got to get it working in both. You see Oliver Askew, rookie, in the Andretti car this year, did a great job in the first race in Saudi Arabia, scored his first points.
Struggled in free practice 1, 2 seconds off the pace, a second slower than kind of anyone else really, and 1.5 seconds slower than his teammate Jake Dennis, so one presumes he just didn't get a lap in because he's not going to be at that pace, I wouldn't have thought. Askew, as he makes his way past Mortara. Now, there is Andretti on the right, Griffiths on the left.
Traffic, we'll keep pushing.
Copy, keep pushing.
Traffic, but keep pushing.
Seems like a plan. You can see the back end of the Andretti car just stepping out as Askew started to turn into turn 10. Good rotation through turn 11. Looks good over the bumps. Looks like the tyres are staying in contact with the road, which is really what you want, and that was not the case with the Mercedes guys this morning.
Askew backs off. So he kept pushing for a bit, and now he's backed off. You could hear Degrassi's tyres squealing, couldn't you, as he leant on it through the final corner. And Degrassi goes up into 9th place. Van Dorn is quickest. Lotter second, still on a 1 minute 8.0, so half a second adrift of the lap times from free practice 1 with 23 minutes to go. Hashtag Mexico City E-Prix is the way to join the conversation over the weekend.
We've seen 2 cars given warnings for track limits at turn 16, the last corner, the jump in the curb on exit, so it shows how difficult it is to carry speed through that last corner, I would imagine, especially at 250 kilowatts.
Curbs are quite clunky though. I'm not sure you want to be going over them.
Well, if you can get right over it quickly, you might be all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, clearly the FIA, the race director does not like that, so that will be getting policed quite heavily.
Here comes Gunter.
And his teammate Sebastian Buemi to the top of the times, 107.8. Gunter sliding the rear of the car out of turn 16 in Mortara.
He lost 3 seconds in the middle sector, Max Gunter. He then pushed in the final sector and was only 0.2 slower than Buemi, so an error somewhere in the middle of the lap. And here now is Sergio Sede Camera into turn 1.
Now he did something interesting. He went over the white line quite far down the straight. Normally you see drivers coming over just as they approach turn 1. I wonder if he'll get in trouble for that, if they're going to police the track limits sort of halfway down the straight or not.
Less than 22 minutes to go. The man from Belo Horizonte just about gets that rear around, doesn't he?
Yeah, same hometown as Tony Kanaan.
The race controller fine with all 4 wheels over the white line on the way into turn 1. So that is, if you can take advantage, because the grass is the track limit. Basically,
that's just made the track even wider. Fantastic, yeah. It's going to be even more interesting at the turn 1 this afternoon. And now Oliver Rowland at turn 16 for track limits, getting a little look from the FIA.
Here comes Sede Camera. A little bit balked by the Nissan. Sweeps around the outside. And I think he's coming into the pits now anyway, so Sede Camera comes into the pits, as does Sebastian Buemi, with 21 minutes on the clock. Buemi on a 1 minute 7.889. This is what you're talking about with Sergio Sede Camera. Well, this was him at turn 5 and 6.
So, yeah, nice, neat. Got sort of diamonded the corner, went out wide, cut back in, got good power down, got the car straight and power down. The one thing most cars don't like to do is to do 2 things at once, either brake and turn, accelerate and turn. Look at Andre Lotterer, I don't know if he's looking at his teammate or at his engineer. But he's, I think he's going to be feeling good about things. He had a good Saudi Arabia couple of races and looking good today.
Right, here we go then, on board with Jake Dennis for a lap of the Mexico City E-Prix circuit. Onto the brakes into turn 1, snatches the right front, and he's going straight off.
Oh, that went well. Yeah, so you see how difficult it is to pick your braking spot at turn 1. And we've seen so many different people go off. Just watch, yeah, just trying to brake on the absolute limit, lock up the inside front. Have to change the brake balance a little bit towards the rear. It looks like there's a little bump sets off that lockup. A shake of the head from Michael Andretti. seen that shake of the head before directed at me. I drove for Michael, what, 5 years? He was my teammate, my boss, competitor at one point. He's a really good driver, heck of a driver. Speaking of good drivers, Lucas Di Grassi.
Into turn 1, running at 220 kilowatts. You can see they're kind of churning up the mud a little on the exit, and he now backs off Di Grassi. Was that a lap that he had just finished? And if he was, it was 4 seconds off the pace. Jerome D'Ambrosio, Eduardo Mortara.
Oh, intensity in Eduardo's face. Looking at all the data on the steering wheel.
The Mahindra across the line of
Sims
coming down into turn 1. He's at full power then. Flashes through 1. Now into 3.
He took that sort of early turn in to you can see the rear of the car to getting a bit out of control, so he just took a slightly earlier turn in. The problem with that is it means you've got to do more turning in the middle of the corner. Oh, big understeer through the middle point of turns 5 and 6.
3/10 down in sector 1 for Alexander Sims. Down to turn 9 and the entrance to the Foro Sol. Just getting busier and busier as the day progresses. Still only 10 o'clock in the morning, but you can see it's picking up nicely. As you can spot Alexander Sims coming through the, whoop, a little loose as he comes through the stadium.
Yeah, just a bit too much oversteer, and again, I mean, it helped him turn into turn 15, but see how oversteered he gets through 16. This is a point where you want to keep it balanced off, a bit of movement.
It's going already.
You can hear it. I'd come in and the 108.1, yeah, come in, have a little word with the engineers, just help them with the rear grip just a little bit, and then start describing what it's doing.
Goes fourth quickest. Here's a look at Mitch Evans, the next driver to go straight on at turn 1. Neither of the Jaguar drivers were happy with their cars in free practice 1, the balance, and so they've made fairly big changes out for free practice 2.
We always talk about balance, and it's the relationship grip front to rear. You want obviously the maximum amount of grip the car can give you, but you need it balanced front to rear. When a car is in balance, it makes it so difficult to drive quickly, especially in the race here when you're trying to save energy and go quickly as well.
This is the other Jaguar of Sam Bird following Stoffel Van Dorn. Van Dorn third fastest at the moment. The quick lap times have stopped popping in, although as I say that, Verline does quite a good middle sector, but Edmund goes third quickest, but it's a bit more sort of a few laps of race preparation here perhaps for some of these drivers.
I mean, half the session's gone already, so qualifying obviously is very important. I think as close as the field is now, the teams have realised you cannot really get from sort of 15th up into the top 5, or it's increasingly difficult. So you've got to qualify up front. But then there's a balance, because if you qualify up front, and we saw with Stoffel Van Dorn's teammate Nick de Vries, if the balance isn't in the car come race time, back you go, no points.
Through the Peraltada, out across the line. Lotterer has gone to full power. Mortara has done a reasonable first sector. Van Dorn comes across the line, and this is going to be one that challenges. 4.4 seconds away, so a few race runs coming in for Stoffel Van Dorn. So he comes into the first corner now. Sete Camera's done a reasonable sector 1. Ian James. 16 minutes to go. Here is Lotterer. Quickest in free practice 1, a 1 minute 7.5. Driver's eyes are 5 and 6.
And you'll hear if the car slides as he comes out through the kink of turn 8 now. You'll hear if he slides, that's when he's losing grip. Let's listen to him tonight. Porsche's working well today. He's got a bit of traffic ahead, as you can see, into 10, catching the oversteer. Car gets out of the way nicely.
It's a quarter of a second up at the middle split.
Just a small snap of oversteer through 14. Nicely, neatly back to the throttle.
It's looking good, this, for Lotterer.
Let's listen to this. Just a little feather of the throttle.
And it's quicker than he went earlier on. A 1 minute 7.386, fastest time of the weekend for Andre Lotterer.
He's got his eye in this weekend, hasn't he?
Really has.
They've got the car working well.
That will please Florian Modlinger. The new boss of the Porsche team, joined just before Diriyah. Well, it was announced he joined just before Diriyah. There's the other car of Pascal Wehrlein. He's coming into the final couple of corners. He's 2/10 down on Mortara after the first 2 sectors.
As you said earlier, Jack, we look at him sliding the car, but as you said earlier, Wehrlein really dominated qualifying last year, the inter-teammate battle at Porsche. But Lotterer's come out fighting this year.
Yeah, it was 10-4 in qualifying last year, and qualifying last year was skewed because of groups, but Lotterer was not exactly near the front of the championship order either, so they were in very similar groups for a lot of the time.
There we see it. Porsche 1-2 at the moment. Sebastian Buemi up there again. It's a nice turnaround from the Nissan team.
Here's Dan Tickton. Got right involved in his first Formula E race, sending it at turn 1, which I think led to a few disagreements with some of the other folks in the paddock. And he's backed off at turn 9.
He's a racing driver. He saw a gap.
Yeah.
You know, and he's learning. He's learning what the limits are of it. So you see his teammate Oliver Turvey. Nice line through 15 for Oliver Turvey.
The sun glinting off that Neo.
I have to say the balance looks good in the Neo. And Turvey up to 11th, but it just looks well planted on the circuit. So hopefully that bodes well for qualifying in a couple hours' time for the Neo team.
13 minutes to go. Askew is 6th fastest at the moment, 9/10 away, but there's quite a big gap between those that have done full power laps and those that haven't. Roland is on 1 now. He's 300ths up in Sector 1 in the Mahindra. He's got a little bit of traffic as he approaches the Foro Sol Stadium. Into the right-hander of 9. It's Antonio Giovinazzi up ahead of him in the Dragon, who keeps nicely out of the way. Oh, struggling to get it round there, Roland, but he comes through and he's now half a second away. Lost half a second in the middle sector, Roland. Loads of traffic, big slide as well. Bit more traffic for Verne.
Yeah. He's not going to be happy with that. It looked like the grip is just going away. The balance was lovely through the first corner, but again, traffic. One of the Andretti cars ahead of him.
Roland goes 7th quickest, 9/10 of a second away.
He's not going to be happy. As we see Jake Dennis ahead of him in the Andretti. The Andretti and the Mahindra cars, very similar paint schemes.
Here we are with Jake Dennis at turn 3. Last time we went on board with him, he went straight on.
He's got further around the lap this time.
Yeah, makes the corner this time, and he's 200ths up in the first sector, so he's in full power here, Jake Dennis. So is his teammate Oliver Askew, who's 4/10 down on Lotterer after the first sector.
Let's watch the momentum he carries through turn 9. Oh, missed the apex. He's not going to be happy. Oh, nearly got the wall, though. He's not going to be happy with that. It's turn 9. That's how much time did he lose there? He's 3/10 away now already. Gets the car rotated through to 13. Now he's got traffic ahead. One of the Dragons.
Askew's gone 5th quickest. Dennis is 3/10 away from Lotterer.
He's fighting understeer at the front of the car, sliding. You can hear him playing with the throttle. He's got almost too much steering lock in, but 4th quickest.
Only a 10th ahead of Askew, though, so that's a better job from Askew than he managed in free practice 1. Verne, meanwhile, slots into 2nd in the DS to Cheetah. Mitch Evans waiting to head out in the Jaguar. The Jaguars at the moment 16th and 18th in the order.
On a more positive note, I think Askew's done a really good job to come from an Indy car with all the downforce and grip that one of those has, and then to get into a Formula E car with all conditioned tyres, really no downforce to speak of, and he's really adapted very, very well.
Sylvain Filippi, Managing Director of Envision Virgin Racing.
No Virgin anymore.
Here's Edoardo Mortara, championship leader. Coming into turn 1, he's down in 15th at the moment, so let's see what the Italian Swiss has got.
Let's see how the balance of this Venturi looks compared to this morning. Good momentum through 3. First split is right in the middle of 5 and 6.
Cool. It's 2/10 up in the first split.
All right. Just handling them a bit better then.
Coming down now to the Foro Sol.
Ah, his teammates in the way though. That's when the engineer should be on, and will be on the radio saying,
hit the apex, no doubt about that. We'll get the second split here. He's a 10th up, so he's lost a little bit of time in the middle sector, but he's still up overall compared to Andre Lotterer.
He jumped to curb in 13. I don't know if that helped or not. Let's see how the balance is for the Venturi through the last corner.
We're about to see the fastest time of the session so far. Yep. 1 minute 7.346. Only 400s ahead of Lotterer, so that 2/10 kind of ebbed away as the lap went on, but nevertheless, fastest lap time we've seen. Here comes Sam Bird. There's Oliver Turvey just up ahead of him as they run down now towards 5 and 6. Sorry, it's Evans, my apologies. He's in full power as he comes into 5 and 6.
I have to say that the Venturi car, the body language of it looks so much better, so much more composed on circuit. So they've made some good changes between free practice 1 and free practice 2.
Evans a couple of tenths away in sector 1. Swinging through the Forest-Sol, middle sector split. He's only 3/10 away now, so he's managed to keep it going in the middle sector compared to Mortara anyway. So this has a shot at maybe a top 5.
Looks like he was fighting with a lot of understeer through the stadium section. The car's rolling over quite a lot in comparison to some of the cars we've seen.
On the power, across the line, and it is 5th for Mitch Evans. Cassidy's gone 3rd fastest for the Envision team. Degrassi remains in 7th place, 0.6 of a second slower than his teammate Eduardo Mortara, who's still at the top. 8 minutes to go.
I think if Degrassi can get anywhere close to the front in qualifying today, he's going to be very, very difficult to for his competition. He's just such a way of running this race. As you see, his teammate Edo Mortara back to 250 kilowatts of power qualifying mode. You see the halo glowing blue. Bit messy through 3.
Mercedes still in 11th for Van Dorn and 20th for De Vries.
You saw what happened there, got on the grass, but luckily there's, unusually for Formula E, there's a load of runoff area that shows you can really sort of flirt with the limit on braking.
So error from Mortara is...
Just gets a bit offline out of 4, trying to open up, get as close to the grass as possible to open up the entry of 5. That's the problem. You do a good lap, and then you want to go back out and just push the limit a little bit harder in a couple of places, and you see just went over it.
Has Mortara's lap time been deleted or
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm just looking for him on the timing screen.
Because he's down in the 17th now on the left-hand side, as you can see.
I didn't see a message from...
And we watched the lap, didn't we?
Yeah.
It really... Well, there's no way really you can get a track limit deletion unless it's the final corner,
Yeah.
but we watched it.
It was nice.
That's a bit of an odd one. Try and get to the bottom of that. Mortara down in 17th position. Turvey returning to the pit lane now for Neo. Lotterer quickest then. Cassidy 2nd. Verne 3rd. The other Envision of France is in 15th place after he was in the top 5 in free practice 1 earlier.
You see Degrassi's mechanics changing the tyres in the Venturi. 2 sets of tyres for the event today.
Oliver Rowland across the line, and he's starting a push lap now. Whoa. That looks fantastic from that shot, doesn't it?
It really does.
So quick.
A bit of traffic though. Well done for the Porsche, just getting out of the way. Verline, yeah. Through 4.
First sector split for Rowland.
That's where Mortara made the mistake.
3/10 down.
Very sort of careful going into 5 and 6 there.
Now down into turn 9.
And Rowland has that strange thing again, when he brakes heavily, he slides down in the car. You watch him when he brakes for turn 1 and turn 9, you see his head's been disappearing down in the car a little bit. His seatbelt's one of them quite slack maybe, or what's going on? Yeah, it doesn't look great, the Mahindra right now. Struggling with the balance, I would say, quite a bit.
Only 2/10 down in the middle sector, so he's got a shot at the top 5 here as he comes through the final corner. Fighting with it.
10 out of 10 for commitment, Oliver Rowland.
And it's not quite top 5. 6th place. Dan Ticktum across the line behind him to start a lap.
Ticktum's finished his lap.
Oh,
P14.
Bad at all for Ticktum, because all of a sudden that Askew and Dennis early laps, they're down in 13th and 11th respectively. Here comes Verline through the mud, 5th at the moment.
And they're creating a rut there. That's going to get progressively worse as people use it, and you have to be careful you don't damage the car later in the race when you use that. Verline trying to get the car back over, using a more aggressive line through turn 4.
Good first sector. 5/100ths up on Andre Lotterer.
Oh, rush hour though ahead of him. You see Roland on his cool-down lap in the red Mahindra ahead.
Gets out the way.
You've really got to trust the fellow drivers at this point because you're committing to the corner. A bit of oversteer for Pascal Verline though as you turn into turn 10. Very late apex in 12.
Now almost 3 tenths down on his teammate. Onto the power, through to Peraltada. Set a camera right ahead, keeps out the way. Don't think Verline will improve on this lap. He doesn't. He remains in 5th place. Pretty much matches his previous best, about a 1/10 of a second slower. Both Jaguars in the pits right now. Everybody else bar Giovinazzi is out on the circuit, apart from the 2 Jaguars of Evans and Bird with 3 minutes to go. So I presume they'll be leaving the pits imminently and doing a full power simulation.
Well, here's the question. If you're the driver, would you want to do a simulation in 220 kilowatts power, what you're going to do in group qualifying, or do you want to do a 250?
I can't help but think you've just got to be doing 220 all day long. Whoa, there's a bit of a misunderstanding, I think, with Askew and the Nissan in front, which I think was Roland. It was Buemi, apologies. Askew comes across the line 13th, but if you get into the duels, you're in the top 8, whatever happens. And then you just, you know, you're a racing driver, you're a great racing driver, you do a 250, it's who does the best job at the time. But at 220, that's the sort of way you need to nail your lap, I think, way more so than in the duels, in my opinion.
Big lock-up from Da Costa. You're going to be surprised I'm going to take a counterpoint to that, Jack.
Interesting.
No, I think that you're going to get multiple laps at 220 in group qualifying.
As you can build up to it there.
Yeah, when you go out 250, you're going to have to go. You've got 1 lap, you've got your warm-up, and you go. So I'm going to want to do a lap at 250, full qualifying. And you may be sitting at home thinking, well, why is it such a difference? Trust me. 30 kilowatts of power, the big percentage change is going to completely change the way the car handles. It's going to change the way the track feels.
So don't you need the car handling right for 220?
Yes, but you've got, as I say, you've got multiple chances to change the settings in the car as you go, and you've done your some 220 laps as well. So you've got that reference point in the books. As you see, Da Costa goes quickest.
1 minute 7.345 for Antonio Felix Da Costa. Here comes Robin Freitz right up on the curb in that final turn. Freitz goes 15th. Not very good. 0.8 of a second off the pace there, Robin Freitz. His first sector was decent. Lost 0.4 in the middle sector and 0.4 in the final sector. His teammate Nick Cassidy up in 5th place, so maybe a scrappy lap. Here comes Mitch Evans then with 1 minute and 6 seconds left on the clock. He's gone full power now, so this is it really for the... Well, Evans is in 6th place, Bird is in 10th. They're both starting full powers. The trouble is going to be if they're out of sequence and everybody else is on a cool-down lap, and then you catch the whole field out there because all 22 cars are out on track.
And there's some traffic right ahead, Jack. Just what you don't want to see. A bit of a lock-up. As you went into turn 5, but the car rotated for 6. Nice. 10th and a half up, though. This is just what you don't want to see.
Bird is 6,000ths up in the first sector. So Jaguar look like they've got back on top of things after a difficult first practice session. Evans into the stadium. Middle sector split coming here. A 10th away. He's in the mix. Buemi's up there in 4th place still.
The car looks a lot easier to drive now than it did this morning.
Bird's 3/10 away in the middle sector, so the New Zealander has had a faster middle third of the lap. Here he comes now. Out through the final corner. Evans stays 6th. Improves, but stays in 6th place. Bird is 10th. Cassidy goes up into 5th, or remains in 5th. Bird gains 1 place and goes up into 9th position. Bit more like it for Jaguar.
We've got a yellow at turn 11 and one at turn 1 again.
So Da Costa is going to end the session quickest. That's Sete Camera. He spun at 11 inside the stadium. He gets going again, but I think it's going to be Da Costa who's going to end the session fastest. No one else. Mortara's done a reasonable first 2 laps. First 2 sectors, but comes across in 19th place. So, Antonio Felix Da Costa. Suddenly, Diaz Techeetah are first and third. Mortara's still there, Nissan's still there. Here's Sergio Sete Camera.
He lost a rear on entry. Just kept trying to catch it, and it wasn't for being caught. Off he went onto the outside of surface, which, yeah, pretty dusty, pretty dirty. No grip. Round she went.
Top 10 separated by 4 tenths. That's tight.
And it's just the way it's changed, though.
Yeah.
It's so exciting when you see, just how you can go from 10th to first to 10th.
12th and 20th for Van Dorn and De Vries. I paused there expecting some comment from you, but
I am. Unless they're holding something back, but I don't see it. I think they're struggling with it looks like they're struggling with the balance of the car.
Jakob says this is a really fun track to watch. Hashtag Mexico City E-Prix. I do like it actually, especially since we put the extension in. It's a lot cooler. No chicanes anymore. It used to be what, 2 or 3 chicanes on the track, I think.
Originally we had one through the Peraltada, didn't we? But we had that one turn 3 as it was. Yeah, I agree. It's got a bit nice flow to it now.
Crowd starting to fill up, ready for qualifying, which gets underway in not that long. I'll give you an exact time for you. 1 hour, basically. An hour from now, qualifying will begin. An hour and 10 minutes, if we want to be precise. As they do some more practice starts on the run down towards the first corner. So Diaz Techeetah looking good. Buemi up there for Nissan for the 2nd session in a row, which is good news for them. Nick Cassidy 5th for Envision. Freitz was 4th for Envision in free practice 1, so they've got their consistency. 2nd and 4th for Buemi in the 2 practice sessions. Mortara has the highest average performance with a 1st and a 2nd. Then Buemi has a 2nd and a 4th. And then it's probably Da Costa. He was 5th in FP1 and quickest in FP2, so those are kind of the 3 drivers looking strongest at the moment.
This is good to see from Nissan and Buemi, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a tough time last season and the first 2 races in Saudi Arabia.
There are the crowds really filling up in the Foro Sol. It's a really great atmosphere here, not only like just in the stadium itself, but in the Allianz Village. There's plenty to do. I've had my tacos already. There's a taco truck a 40-second walk from here. It's on the right-hand side there.
That's so dangerous for you, isn't it?
I know. We're on the left in the pit buildings. The taco truck's there on the right. Getting hungry again. The cars now. They also get, after the practice start, they get another lap out of it, don't they? Which they're probably pushing quite hard on, I thought. Verne back in the garage. 3rd fastest for the Diaz Techeetah squad. Well, this is how the 2nd free practice session ended. Antonio Felix Da Costa fastest, a 1:07.345. No points for him so far this season. He needs to get some on the board. Andre Mortara, 2nd quickest, 4/100ths slower. Jean-Eric Verne, 3rd quickest, 5/100ths of a second, basically separating the top 3. Then it's a huge 10th back to Sebastian Buemi in 4th position. Cassidy 5th, the 2 New Zealanders 5th and 6th, because Cassidy ahead of Evans. Both Jaguars inside the top 10, both Porsches inside the top 10, both Diaz Techeetahs inside the top 10. Roland did a solid lap to be there in 8th place for the Mahindra team. Jake Dennis down in 11th. 10th was Lucas de Grassi, who was very slow in free practice 1, so he'll be a little happier with that. Sergio Sete Camera slowest in the end in the Dragon, and only really, well, Robin Freitz in 16th and Eduardo Mortara and Nick De Vries 19th and 20th. There is De Vries. look, says out loud. That looked like a straight down to business kind of conversation, wasn't it?
That wasn't a happy conversation.
Buemi, is he back?
Well, I think the car's helping him.
Yeah.
I think, you know, no matter how great a driver, season 2 champion, the car's got to help you, and it really hasn't been. So good to see the E-Dams team, Nissan, Buemi, up the front. Let's hope they can continue that through this afternoon.
Work going on Jake Dennis's Andretti as we get ready for qualifying, which is always, well, has become a real high point of the day in Formula E. De Grassi, as I say, 10th quickest, which is better than 20th or whatever it was in the first practice session. It's also worth remembering, actually, Eduardo Mortara, that lap time he did that got sort of deleted or something was definitely enough for the top 3. I can't remember exactly what the time was, but it was a 1 minute 7.3 something.
But why was it deleted?
I don't know. So he was in the same 10th of a second as Da Costa, Lotterer and Verne. So don't rule out Mortara, but none of the other Mercedes drivers are really in the fight. If you want to get involved in Fan Boost, this is how you do it. You scan the QR code on the bottom right, or you head to FIAFormulaE.com/fanboost. You can only do 1 vote per day, and the winner will get a power boost in the second half of the race this afternoon to use to attack or to defend. Lucas de Grassi, 4th at the moment in the Fan Boost standings. Antonio Felix da Costa's at the top. Nick de Vries, 5th, so he's right on the bubble, just ahead of Sam Bird. Dan ticked him up there in 7th position. So there's Da Costa, quickest man in free practice 2 ahead of the Mexico City E-Prix. Michael Andretti here in Mexico having a chat with his driver Jake Dennis and the rest of the team as everyone got ready for the second free practice session of the day. Mitch Evans and Jaguar looking for a stronger performance. Sam Bird lowering himself into the car. Everybody headed out onto the circuit. Lock up for Antonio Felix da Costa coming down into the first corner. Lock up as well for Sergio Sede Camara, that time coming into turn 3. Oliver Askew was looking a little better than he managed this morning. 14th quickest for him. Very neat and tidy from the Porsche of Andre Lotterer, who ended the session second quickest. Jean-Eric Verne was 3rd quickest. Buemi looking strong, 4th fastest at the end of the session. Big moment there for Buemi. There was also this lock-up for Jake Dennis into turn 1. More drivers struggling at the first corner. Mitch Evans straight on. Eduardo Mortara did a fast lap, but his lap time was deleted for track limits on the exit of turn 16. Andre Lotterer, quickest in free practice 1, 2nd quickest in free practice 2. But Antonio Felix da Costa, the season 6 champion, at the top of the times. No points after Diriyah. Evans making his way back. Both Jaguars inside the top 10, but we will be back for qualifying. The debrief begins. They have only got an hour before qualifying begins. So there's a lot of work to be done if they want to secure pole position for the 3rd round of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship here in Mexico City. Join us for the brand new qualifying Formula E format. We'll be back with you in an hour.